Welcome back to Comic Cappers. Today we will be capping Absolute Green Lantern number 4, where the alchemical experiment turns deadly and the survivors realize the game is rigged. With that said, grab a snack, sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Hal Jordan is being pulled into the abyss, his psyche fracturing under the weight of the Black Hand corruption. The voice inside his head is no longer whispering, it's commanding, framing his descent not as a tragedy, but as a necessary judgment. The internal monologue shifts into a terrifying affirmation. It's a gaslighting technique, validating Hal's deepest fears to ensure his total surrender to the darkness. The cosmic horror reaches a fever pitch as the entity redefines divinity itself. The Green Lantern ring, a symbol of order and light, is being discarded in favor of a nihilistic void. Finally, the transformation is complete. The void coalesces into a singular dark emblem, demanding that Hal abandon his humanity and fully embrace the role of the Black Star. Hal is visibly crumbling, clutching his head as the corruption takes hold. He's trying to fight back, but his own words betray his internal conflict. Jo Mullein arrives, her ring glowing with a desperate, protective light. She's pleading with him to break free from the Black Hand's influence, but Hal's response is chilling. He's already resigning himself to the inevitable. Hal urges Jo to save herself, pushing her away to escape the reach of the dark energy. Jo refuses to abandon him, desperate to find a solution to the nightmare unfolding in Evergreen. The corruption takes a physical, terrifying form. A massive, shadowy hand erupts from the earth, clutching a glowing green orb of pure energy, a grim representation of the power Hal can no longer contain. The sheer force of this manifestation slams into the landscape. The ground ruptures under the strain of the Black Hand's influence, and the impact forces a pained, guttural cry from Hal. In the aftermath, we see the crater left behind, with Hal lying broken at the center. The light of his ring is fractured, mirroring the total collapse of his autonomy as the corruption consumes him. Jo looks up, her face etched with a mix of horror and dawning realization. The weight of Hal's question hangs in the air, forcing her to confront the reality that the man she's trying to save is no longer in control of his own actions. Hal is no longer just struggling, he's been completely subsumed. The Black Hand corruption has twisted him into a monstrous, hulking figure, looming over Jo like a nightmare made flesh. With that terrifying, elongated arm reaching down, he poses a question that feels less like an inquiry and more like a final, mocking interrogation of Jo's failure to save this town. Jo and Todd Rice find a moment of eerie quiet outside the Alan Scott Atom Bomb Cafe. The town is deathly still, and Jo finally breaks the silence with a chilling realization. Inside the diner, the atmosphere is heavy. Todd explains that the people of Evergreen didn't just stay inside, they vanished. He checked on his neighbor, Abby, only to find an empty house, confirming his worst fears about the town's sudden depopulation. Todd takes a grim swig of his drink, his cynicism peaking as he processes the loss. Jo, however, is already looking past the grief, focused on the mission. She's ready to face whatever cosmic horror is behind this, and she needs to know if Todd is with her. Todd Rice doesn't mince words. He's looking at a ghost town, confirming that neighbors like Roy, Brenda, Ed, and Kyle have all vanished into thin air. It's a sobering realization that hits home. They are essentially the last souls remaining in Evergreen. Jo Mullein isn't interested in sugarcoating the horror. She forces Todd to confront the reality of the situation, questioning why, out of 3,000 people, only they seem to be left standing. Todd takes a long, desperate pull from his bottle, the silence of the diner amplifying the crushing weight of the mystery. He has no answers, only the hollow feeling of abandonment. Jo has had enough of the waiting and the theories. She decides that if the truth won't come to her, she's going to go out and drag it into the light herself. Stepping out into the void, Jo bellows into the darkness, calling out the cosmic entity directly. She's done playing by the rules of this nightmare. It's time for some answers. Jo marches into the heart of the mystery, arms wide, daring the cosmic entity to acknowledge her. Todd stays back, weapon drawn, offering a final grim bit of advice as Jo commits to the confrontation. The entity responds, and the atmosphere shifts instantly. This isn't just a monster, it's a presence that knows her by name, chillingly calm as it looms over her in the green-tinted void. Jo stares up, her expression a mix of grief and unyielding demand. She isn't backing down from the cosmic entity, forcing the issue of the town's fate right to its face. The entity looms, its alien features cold and detached. It doesn't even comprehend the concept of mass death, treating her accusation as a linguistic error rather than a moral horror. Back in the shadows, Todd is struggling to keep it together. His hands are shaking, but he's determined to hold his position, knowing Jo is the one currently in the line of fire. Todd Rice takes his shot, lining up the Abin Sur entity with steady hands. He believes he's found an opening, but the cold detachment of the being suggests this won't be as simple as a standard firefight. the Abin Sur entity doesn't flinch. It begins to narrate the end of specific townspeople like Jason Simmons, framing their deaths as mere accidents of physics or speed, completely stripping away the humanity of the victims. The entity continues its clinical justification, citing the end of Rita Powell as a considered judgment. It's a terrifying look into the mind of a cosmic force that views murder as an administrative task. Mullein fires, but the blast is deflected by a shimmering green barrier. The sheer violence of the moment is underscored by the sound of the gunshot, marking a desperate escalation in their confrontation. As the dust settles, the entity remains unmoved, casually explaining that Beatrice Coles was terminated because her chaotic action was unacceptable. It's a chilling, bureaucratic excuse for absolute slaughter. With terrifying calm, the entity declares that no other lives have ended by its hand. It maintains a bizarre alien morality that refuses to acknowledge the weight of the carnage surrounding them. Joe is left stunned. The implication that the entity doesn't even consider its actions to be killing leaves her reeling, forcing her to realize just how far removed this threat is from human understanding. Joe refuses to accept the entity's cold detachment, standing her ground as she confronts the Abin Sur construct about the horrific fate of her friends. To her, this is a massacre, and the denial of it is a final insult. The cosmic entity pivots, addressing Joe by name and dropping a bombshell that shatters their entire understanding of the conflict. The realization hits Joe and Todd: the missing people haven't been killed, they've been moved. The entity clarifies its alien logic with terrifying precision. By rejecting the term disintegrated, it reveals that the townspeople were simply harvested, leaving the door wide open for the true nature of the Omega Alpha state. The Abin Sur entity looms, its form radiating a cold, cosmic authority. It drops the truth about the missing townspeople. They aren't dead, they've been harvested into a state called the Omega Alpha, and for this entity, the judgment is still ongoing. Nearby, the tension shifts. Hal Jordan is clearly shaken, his grip on his plan slipping as he whispers that this wasn't what they agreed to, while his companion hushes him, desperate to keep their presence hidden. Watching the interaction closely, a realization dawns on them. If Joe can actually communicate with this entity, maybe the violence, the gold bullets, and the bloodshed can be avoided entirely. There's a flicker of hope that this nightmare could finally reach a peaceful resolution, but that hope is immediately snuffed out. The corruption takes hold, and the moment of potential peace is shattered as quickly as it began. Joe desperately demands answers, trying to break through the entity's cold, rhythmic logic. She needs to know if the people of Evergreen can be saved, but the Abin Sur entity only speaks in cryptic, almost liturgical terms about light, judgment, and selection. The entity clarifies its mission, revealing that this cosmic process is about finding initiates to stand against some encroaching darkness. It's a chilling shift from a simple kidnapping to a calculated, grand-scale recruitment. Then the tone turns truly ominous. The entity addresses Joe directly, commanding her to embrace fear, specifically the fear of Card. The warning escalates. It's not just a place, it's a specific threat, the weaponers of Card. The atmosphere shifts from ethereal green mystery to a sharp, dangerous red. With that final terrifying name drop, the entity declares that Joe now possesses understanding. The judgment, it seems, is far from over. Joe is left reeling. She's not looking for cosmic philosophy, she's looking for her town. Her frustration boils over as she demands the entity explain its cryptic warnings. As the entity begins to fade or shift, Joe is left standing in the wake of a revelation that suggests the threat to Evergreen is much larger and much older than she ever imagined. We pick up right in the thick of the interrogation. The corrupted, monstrous form of Hal Jordan looms over Joe, pressing her for the truth about what happened after their confrontation with the entity. Joe is visibly shaken, struggling to find the words to describe the sheer impossibility of the situation. She snaps back to the moment of the encounter, desperate to stop the entity from escaping the conversation. Joe's narration cuts through the tension. She's not just reporting events, she's reliving a moment of pure, raw reaction. It's a desperate gambit. Hal, or the entity wearing his form, was shifting into that intangible, light-based state. Fearing he was about to vanish and leave her with nothing, Joe lunged forward, acting purely on instinct. She admits the truth. At that moment, she didn't have any grand plan or cosmic understanding. She was just a lantern trying to grab onto a light that was literally turning into light. Joe realizes her mistake. She didn't just reach for the entity, she dove into its very essence. The visual is haunting, showing the green energy consuming her focus. Her hand makes contact, and the physical reality of her wedding ring begins to interact with the intangible, shifting green flame. We see the Abin Sur entity standing apart, observing the cosmic manipulation with an orange, burning intensity. The entity's profile is stark, a creature of pure, detached judgment watching the barrier between worlds. A black, void-like shape dominates, representing the encroaching darkness that the weaponers of Card represent. A sudden, singular eye, the golden, piercing gaze of the entity, stares back, signaling that Jo has truly crossed a line she can't uncross. Jo's narration confirms the theory. Her gold ring is the key. Just like Jon Stewart's ring did before, this piece of metal acts as a physical anchor that can puncture the entity's ethereal barrier. She's in. The boundary is shattered, and Jo is now submerged within the light itself, standing on the precipice of whatever lies beyond the Omega Alpha barrier. Jo's intrusion into the Abin Sur entity's form has immediate consequences. The entity recoils, pointing a finger at her as if identifying a glitch in its own cosmic programming. It labels her presence as a chaotic action and an anomaly, clearly disturbed by the physical gold ring acting as a foreign impurity within its light-based essence. The reaction is violent. Jo is suddenly consumed, her own form surging with the same green light that defines the entity. Her eyes glow with that same ethereal energy, and the entity screams, anomaly, a final rejection of her influence that threatens to overwrite her reality entirely. Jo's intervention has finally paid off. As she recalls the moment her gold ring pierced the entity's defenses, we see the iconic Green Lantern symbol suspended in the sky, shimmering as the connection to the barrier begins to fracture. The cosmic prison is failing. The barrier collapses in a visual display of falling energy, and the suffocating green flame that has blanketed Evergreen finally begins to dissipate, leaving the sky dark and exposed. But the silence that follows is heavy. As the symbol drifts downward, the realization sets in that while the barrier is gone, the mystery of what lies beyond, and who is waiting for them, is only just beginning. With the barrier finally shattered, we're left with this singular, haunting image of the fallout. The green flame, that oppressive alchemical prison that held Evergreen hostage, is violently hemorrhaging into the sky. It's a total collapse of the containment field, and in this moment of raw kinetic energy, you can feel the sheer scale of what Jo Mullein has just unleashed. The mystery of the townspeople, the Oa connection, and the cosmic judgment, it's all spilling out at once. Whatever was trapped in that Omega Alpha state, it's about to hit the real world, and the silence here is just the calm before the storm. With the barrier finally down, the true architects of this tragedy arrive to survey the wreckage. We get a wide, sweeping shot of Evergreen, now marked by the massive, glowing Green Lantern symbol embedded in the earth like a brand. The narrator, clearly someone with a sixth sense of appreciation for this devastation, remarks, "We shift inside a high-tech transport where the corporate influence becomes undeniable." A subordinate reports that they've found a survivor, but the figure in charge, slick, arrogant, and clearly not interested in the human cost, dismisses the patrolman's disappearance as a little detail. This is the cold, calculated face of the new threat, and they are here to treat this entire cosmic catastrophe as a business acquisition. We get a close-up of Hector Hammond, perfectly composed and sipping a drink. He treats his subordinates like hired help, even offering them a Double H steak box as a reward for their work in the wreckage. Hammond's helicopter looms over the site, a sleek corporate contrast to the dusty misery of the town. He wants to know if there's any risk of interference, specifically from Lazarus, and he demands total control. Hammond remains unbothered by the competition. He knows his rivals are too distracted by their own ongoing situation to intervene, and he wastes no time ordering a tighter security perimeter to protect his newfound asset. Stepping out of the transport, Hammond looks ready to make his move. He's comparing the catastrophe in Evergreen to a gateway city event, signaling that he views this cosmic tragedy as nothing more than a profitable venture. With the Green Lantern barrier finally shattered, the true scavenger arrives to pick the bones of Evergreen. Hector Hammond steps out of the shadows, flanked by his corporate security detail, looking every bit the victor as he claims this cosmic tragedy as his own private asset. He isn't here to help or investigate. He is here to capitalize on a power source that the rest of the world doesn't even understand yet. It's a chilling, definitive power move to close out the issue, marking the transition from a local supernatural mystery to a high-stakes corporate takeover. And that unfortunately concludes our comic cap for today. With the barrier down and Hector Hammond officially seizing Evergreen, do you think the Green Lanterns have any legal or physical standing left to stop a corporate takeover of a cosmic event? Let me know your answer in the comments section down below. Be sure to subscribe and press that notification bell for daily comic caps. Until next time, take care, brush your hair, I'll see you when I see you, peace.